To introduce our speaker in a moment, I'll invite our past president, Mark Wright, with Classification Media, to introduce Ben Minicucci. A fun fact about Mark: he has Rotary International duty and experience. He's been recognized for his skills as a master of ceremonies and very skilled interviewer. And at last year's annual virtual Rotary International meeting, Mark had MC duties at all of the keynote sessions. During this program, we'll ask our Zoom participants to enter your questions for our speaker using the Zoom chat feature. Our Club Sergeant at Arms, Ken Grant, with Classification and Marketing, will select and present from those submissions during Q&A. And Club member Kathy Williams, with the Classification Banking, will carry the roving microphone here in the Cascade Ballroom. Now to introduce our featured speaker is Mark Wright.
President Jimmy, fellow Rotarians, boy, it's been a long time since I've seen everybody face to face, and I kind of wish that Ken would put his mask back on. That's the last joke that I will crack today. Hey, this is going to be a fun program today. I love having leaders at Ben's level come to talk with us because, frankly, it's a lesson for all of us on how we can become better leaders and up our game as leaders in the community. Ben Minicucci is president and CEO of Alaska Air Group, which is, of course, the parent company of Alaska Airlines and Horizon Air here in Seattle. Those combined airlines carry more than 45 million guests a year on 1,300 daily flights to 115 destinations throughout the U.S., Canada, Mexico, Costa Rica. And those two tickets are available at the end of our program today, anywhere Alaska flies. So that's awesome. Ben has worked at Alaska for 18 years. He gained more responsibility each year until he was named CEO on March 31st, 2021, right in the middle of the pandemic, as you know. Ben was born in near Montreal, Canada. His parents immigrated to Italy in the 1950s. His mom still lives in Canada, and Ben became a U.S. citizen in 2012. Ben's not married. He does have a son who recently graduated from UCLA, a daughter at Reed College in Portland. Ben lives in Issaquah. He loves bicycling. He serves on the boards of directors for Washington Roundtable and the University of Washington Foster School of Business Center for Leadership and Strategic Thinking. To kick things off today, we'd like to start with a short video. I'm sure many of you have seen this short video, but given the fact that we are 2 years into this pandemic, I think this is just what we need right now. So take a look at your screens.
S-A-F-E-T-Y. Safety dance. We can fly where you want to, we can leave your house behind. But if your friends don't mask, and why don't they mask? Well, they won't fly this airline.
You can fly if you want to, cause we do safety right. We have air that's clean and disinfectant machines zapping germs like an arcade space fight. And we dance
Do the dance, do the dance.
Everybody wash some hands.
Do the dance, we're always wearing a mask. Do the dance, do the dance.
No, seriously, please wash your hands.
Do the dance,
HEPA filters cleaning commence.
Alaska safety dance. Alaska safety dance. Alaska safety dance.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm Seattle 4 welcome to Alaska Air Group President and CEO, Ben Minicucci.
Thanks, everybody. It's great being here.
So Ben, take me back to that pitch meeting where the ad people said, okay, I've got a great idea.
You know, you never know how things are going to go when people come up with an idea and you're like, huh. The one request I had is just make it our people. I don't want special dancers. I just want it to be our own employees. So those are all our own people. The pilot, you know, playing the, you know, the electric guitar and, you know, and one of the, it's a Horizon flight who does the kick. I tried that and pulled a hamstring when I did it. But all of it was just our employees, and they practiced so hard. These weren't like, you know, dancers. They practiced, they worked the routine, and came up with something that just exceeded our expectations. Now that song will stay with you tonight. When you close your eyes and go to bed, it will stay with you.
Yeah, and I think the timing, just from an emotional standpoint, we were deep into the pandemic, and here's a company that gave us a chance to just breathe for a minute. You took over Alaska. I mean, you've been there 18 years, but you took over the company as CEO right in the middle of the pandemic. So I'd like to just do maybe, let's start out with a gut check. Like, how's Alaska Airlines 2 years into a pandemic?
You know, of course, nobody ever thought it would last 2 years. So when Brad said, hey, I think it's good now, you got it, you know, when he left. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure it's going to be done, Brad. I'm sure we're good. But no, it's been, you know, it's been, what I describe it as people, it's something where you want to make sure there's still a sense of urgency because we need to get out of this thing. And, you know, the worst point of this pandemic, we were burning $400 million a month. You know, we've burned $2 billion since the pandemic started, just to give you perspective. It's been really horrific for our industry and for us. I mean, the good news is that, you know, so you have this sense of urgency, but you want to create this sense of calm at the same time, that we're going to get through this, the company's strong, and we have pulled through it. You know, our balance sheet is pretty much repaired. We just announced our fourth quarter and year-end results, and, you know, despite Omicron and snowstorms, and I'm going to pause here for a second to apologize to anybody who flew over the holidays. I've been doing this a long time. I've been in the industry a long time. You know, with my military career, 30 years around airplanes, 25 years in the commercial side. I've never experienced a holiday like that before, when you had two events like snow and Omicron hit us so severely that it crippled our operations. So from every employee at Alaska Airlines and Horizon, our deepest apologies for if we canceled your flight, if we delayed you and lost your bag. We're just so sorry, and we're working hard to stabilize things as we come through Omicron, and we're going to give you the service that you're used to. So I just wanted to say that. But no, the last half of 2021, you know, we made money. We were the most profitable airline in the industry, and what that says is that the underlying business fundamentals, our business model is strong, and that when things bounce back, our company is poised for success and poised to grow, and that's what excites me most coming out of this thing.
When we look at commercial real estate in cities like Seattle, I think we are looking literally at an industry shift. Some companies have said, we're not coming back to an actual office space. I'd like to know from your perspective, Ben, how much change has your industry seen because of the pandemic, and how much of that is going to be permanent, do you think?
You know, it's a great question. You know, it depends on which side of the company you're looking at. So our employees have to come to work. There's just, you know, pilots and flight attendants and mechanics and customer service agents. So we have no choice, and so that, and I'm so proud of our employees for everything they do. They came to work. They knew there's a pandemic going on. They knew there was, you know, the Delta variant and Omicron, and yet they show up because they love this company and they love serving you, our guests. And so I can't thank them enough. I have so much gratitude for them. You know, on the backside, you know, all the stuff that we do behind the scenes in terms of things like revenue management and IT and e-commerce and finance. Those, you know, we're adopting a flexible hybrid work model, and I think that's working for people, and I think we'll continue to evolve it as this thing progresses.
Yeah. What about business travel? I mean, that seems, I don't know a lot about the airline industry, but it seems like those business travelers pre-pandemic were really the bread and butter of a lot of airlines. What does that look like now in terms of numbers, and is it going to bounce back?
Well, so our model is about 70% leisure and 30% business. So we never really, like the big carriers, we never really depended on business to actually be profitable. But it is still an important part of our business model. So what we're seeing right now, and right before Omicron, we were seeing about 50% recovery in business travel. A lot of it was the small business, the small and medium-sized businesses, not the big companies. They weren't coming back. They still had, you know, stay at home, and the return to office was slower. Omicron, of course, has really set us back. So we're back down to the 40% range. But our guess is, as you know, we start putting and I'm going to make a prediction here. We're going to put this pandemic in the rearview mirror, hopefully in the second half of 2021. And in the second half of 2021, our modeling says, we should see business back in the 70 to 80% range, is what we're saying. It might not totally come back just because the one-day business trips might go away in terms of, people are so used to Zoom and Teams. But and I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. There is nothing that replaces human connection, human contact, looking people in the eye, shaking their hand, giving them a hug. There's nothing that replaces that. And at some point, I do believe a lot of it is going to come back.
So you grew up in Canada. I was going to make a joke about the metric system, but I think it's just sad that America has not adopted the metric system by now.
It really is easy.
But tell us a little bit about your childhood, and I'd like to know a little bit more about your military service, which you told me really shaped who you are as a leader.
Well, so my parents immigrated from Italy in the 50s, and they left Italy after the Second World War just because it was so poor. There was no work. They couldn't make a living. And, I have such a deep admiration for my parents. My dad's passed away now, but my dad was illiterate. My dad never went to school just because it was so poor growing up. He had to, at an early age, work on a farm. My mom only went to 5th grade. And so they left their village, and the village is still there, believe it or not, to come, and they had an uncle, and they said, I'm going to go to America. The America for them was America. And they said, well, one uncle landed in Montreal and said, hey, there's work. And he started bringing all the family down. And my dad came down, and there was work. And he worked in construction his whole life, and, arms and back and in the cold. And the one thing he always tells us is, you guys need to go to school. I have 2 brothers and a sister. You guys need to go to school because you don't want to be, he said, like a donkey like me working outside in the cold and breaking your back. And so, those are the values they instilled in us. And our childhood was all about working hard. It's all about family and taking care of the people around you that you love and you care about. And I think those values stick with you for a long time. And at 17, I joined the military. It's the equivalent of West Point in Canada, and I got my engineering degree, and I stuck with mechanical engineering. I didn't go the finance way. I love engineering. I'm an engineer at heart. And I spent 14 years in the military, and just, I was telling Mark, the experiences you acquire at such an early age. At 23 years old, I was in charge of 2 maintenance squadrons, C-130s and 707 refuelers, and all over the world with your men and women on missions, and the people that take you under your wing, the non-commissioned officers at an early age that take you under their wing and teach you the fundamentals of leadership and the technical aspects of the job is something that, again, stays with you for life, and things I brought into my business career. So it was just so formative in my career. Yeah.
So you had an aviation background in the military. How did that translate, Ben, to coming to Alaska Airlines in Seattle?
It was great because you get, I worked hands-on a lot. So, you work with, every time you go on a deployment, you're working with your mechanics, you're helping them change engines and props and servicing airplanes. So you got really hands-on, understood how airplanes work, and you understood how to get things done, even in the middle of the night. All maintenance gets done on graveyard shift, believe it or not. So that's why I love our mechanics, because when you're sleeping, they're working on airplanes. So when you show up in the morning, they're ready to go. And so that's what I learned, through that, the hard work and all the processes you need in the background to make things work.
Let's talk about, really what you want Alaska to become. You've been in the company for 18 years. How has it changed over that time period? And where is the company heading under your leadership?
I'm so proud of our company. And in the last 18 years, our story has been one of growth. For those of you, how many are elite customers of Alaska, Golds and 75Ks? Well, thank you so much for being such great, loyal customers. One of our, one of the things that we love is our values and where we came from. So we were born in the state of Alaska, and that's where a lot of our values came from. But as we came in the Pacific Northwest and started our growth, it's been massive over the last 2 decades. And we have 1,300 flights a day. We fly out of Seattle, we fly to 100 cities out of Seattle, 100 cities. This summer we'll have over 300 flights a day just out of Seattle alone to take you anywhere you want to go. As far as Belize, so I hope if someone wins tickets, those first class tickets, you can go to Belize, which is on my bucket list, by the way. So you know what I'm so proud of our company is how we've grown. You know, I feel we're Seattle's hometown airline, and we have all our team here. This is our city. This is where we live. I'm an Issaquah boy. I love Issaquah. I've got friends. You know, I love riding on the east side from North Bend to Bellevue to Bothell to Snohomish and everywhere else. I mean, that's just who we are. And we have 10,000 employees in Seattle. And so we're so proud to say this is our hometown, and we live and breathe it. But our opportunity to grow, you know, on the West Coast and expand is what's exciting. We have 145 orders for Boeing 737 MAXs. 93 are firm, 52 are options, and we normally exercise all our options. And we have 13 MAXs, 30 are being delivered this year from Boeing. So 30 brand new MAXs are coming, and we're a huge supporter of Boeing. And part of our plan is to grow 40% over the next 4 years. So we actually do see the pandemic behind us. We are going to grow 40%. The airline is going to be bigger. And what I want to bring across the West Coast is the same brand recognition, the same brand loyalty that we have in the Pacific Northwest. So the values we have, our brand is based on care. You know, we care about our employees, we care about our customers, we care about the communities we serve. You know, we care about the environment, we care about diversity and equity and inclusion. We care about so many things, and so our brand is founded on care. And what we're trying to do is, and we're going to double down on that this year and the following years, is to let you know, people on the West Coast and people where we fly, even across the country, I say create a little more cowbell on Alaska. If you've seen the SNL skit about who we are, we're a company that's founded on care, and it's again the gratitude I have for our employees because they come in every day and exhibit that care that I'm so proud of.
It's interesting. Howard Behar from Starbucks, former president of Starbucks, who's been on this stage before, is famous for saying, if your employees don't love your company, how can you expect your customers to love your company? Sounds like that's what you're a big believer in. That's good to hear. Let's talk about, it's no secret that airlines burn a lot of fuel and put a lot of carbon into the atmosphere. Alaska has a goal of, is it net zero by 2040?
2040.
So talk about how you get from here to there.
It's a great question, and you know, I talked about care, and care is not only caring for your employees and customers, but it's also caring for the environment. We want to leave the planet a better place than when we took over, and it's an audacious goal because we burn gas for a living to get to point A to point B. And so when you say net zero for 2040, that is an audacious goal, right? Because that's what we do. We burn jet fuel. But I'm excited about it. And we have two plans. One is a short-term plan, is a 5-year plan to be the most fuel-efficient airline in the country in 5 years. And I'll talk about it in a second. And the second is to be net zero by 2040. And that's a 5-point plan. And there's everything from sustainable aviation fuels that we're working on, novel propulsion. You've heard of things like, hybrid, just like cars, hybrid electric technology, maybe fueled by hydrogen. We're investing in companies today. We donated, I'm sure it's not your, turboprop, the Q400, I'm sure you all flown in. We've donated one of the old ones that we don't fly anymore to a company to start testing technology that's not carbon-based, not fuel-based. So we've donated an airplane to say, go test this out, try and develop something that is going to give us zero emissions. We're investing in other companies that are investing in hybrid electric technology. So that is a second big pillar. And we're doing things even today, which I'm excited about, using artificial intelligence and machine learning. So when we launch a flight, if you're going to JFK, New York, from here to New York, we're using artificial intelligence to actually plot the path in real time. So if the dispatcher makes the plan 3 hours before, but things change, weather changes, wind patterns change, traffic changes. And this program, it's a startup company in Silicon Valley that came up with it, dynamically changes the plan to change how many miles you fly, so you spend less time burning gas and a shorter time getting there. So it's all this stuff that we're doing that's really, really exciting. And the last thing I'll say on that is we're all in. Part of our bonus program, 10% of our bonus program depends on us reducing our carbon footprint year over year. So when a pilot taxis an airplane, he'll single engine taxi, to not turn on one engine until, if he knows it's a 20-minute taxi, I'll wait to start the second engine. When we come in, we want to make sure all the equipment's ready to go, and use electric power from the gate and not use the auxiliary power unit. So these are all little things that we're doing to create a mindset and a culture within the company on sustainability.
And we just had a story on the news yesterday about an Israeli company in Arlington called Aviation, and they're about to test an all-electric plane, which it's like that. I mean, we could barely get a golf cart to go electric up until recently. In fact, I've had a lot of those die on me on the golf course.
The technology is amazing. It's
Yeah.
just the amount.
So do you think at some point we're going to have Alaska flights that are all electric?
I'm a mechanical engineer. I love this stuff, and I'm about looking forward. And I think in 5 years you'll see another step change in this technology. In 10 years you'll see another step change. Now, small airplanes, yes, you will see small airplanes, electrically driven. Now the bigger airplanes, our regional fleet for Horizon, that'll take a few more years until it gets to the bigger airplanes like we're flying, 737s and Airbuses. That's going to take maybe a couple decades to get there, but it's coming, and I think it's good news. There's a lot of money and energy being poured into it. Every airline is serious about this stuff. One of the big things is sustainable aviation fuels. That is a big thing we're partnering with government and industry on. Because we got to leave the planet in a better place than we have it today.
Before we get to Q&A from the audience, I'd like to ask just about when you look at the numbers of Americans who have quit their job over the last 6 to 8 months, it's historic levels of people saying, I'm done. Tell me about how that looks at Alaska Airlines. I mean, it really is a market where employees can set more rules and make more demands than they have. Give us a lesson in leadership based on where we are in the pandemic.
The labor landscape is changing dramatically, and what we're trying to do is look forward. We're going to hire 3,000 people today. We know that pilots are going to be a constraint, because so many pilots left the industry through early out programs. But what we're doing is we're investing in schools. What we have to do is you got to reach into kids that are in high school and start telling them about these phenomenal careers. And again, one of our commitments, one of our values is you get equity through education. Education is the pathway to equity. So we're reaching out to kids early on and say, come, these are great jobs. Becoming a pilot is a phenomenal job that pays very well. Becoming a mechanic pays really well. You don't have to go to university and get a college degree. You can be a mechanic, and you can be a dispatcher. You can be all these great flight attendant, and these are all great aviation jobs that pay well, that have good benefits. But the way to do it is you got to reach kids early on. You can't wait for them to be out of high school. Reach them before high school. So we're doing a lot of outreach. We're trying to open the world to say this is what a great career looks like. We're partnering with a bunch of different schools for pilot training, which I'm really excited about. So we create a pipeline, many years before, to say, look, because we're going to hire, again, 3,000 people just this year, and we're growing at a rapid rate over the next 4 years. So we have to really create that pipeline. So it takes just a lot of foresight, to build this thing. So our team is totally engaged, and I think we live in a beautiful place. We're, Pacific Northwest. I think we can attract people here, but we have to create, the pathway for them to get here.
All right, so we're going to open it up to questions, but before we do, should we do the drawing right now? These are first-class tickets. I've never flown
Anywhere
first class in my
so
life.
Anywhere, Hawaii, Belize, Costa Rica, East Coast, anywhere on the East Coast, Florida, New York, Boston.
I was just handed a ticket that says Ken Grant. That seriously, man, you're going to do that right now? Okay, I'm not looking. Here we go. There's one ticket.
And they're right here.
And this is Geraldine Brousseau.
And then the crowd?
Geraldine, I think she is virtually with us today. Yeah. Geraldine, congratulations. Oh, dear friend and fantastic human being. So
how did they redeem it, Cole? Okay, perfect. Cole, one of our great employees will get a hold of you.
Awesome. So let's go to the questions. Kathy, do you want to take it?
Question from David.
Thanks, Kathy. Before the question, just a general observation. I am so pleased to see a program like this, the interview program. It's something I'd forgotten just how great it is at Seattle 4. So Mark, thank you for doing this. And now the question. In my line of work, I've seen some pretty remarkable creativity and adaptability over the past couple of years. Now we're at a point where we're having discussions about what did we learn, what did we jettison that wasn't working, we thought was working, but it actually wasn't working, and what are we going to take forward into the future? And I guess the question I have for you is, how do you balance that at an organization as large as yours with a long-term strategic plan? How do you balance some of those takeaways of the past 2 years with what you're going to be doing over the course of the future? Thank you.
No, it's a great question. I'm going to give you an example of what you're talking about is food on board and ordering food. We were trying to balance and we still are through Omicron. We get Omicron, but how do you keep flight attendants safe, people with masks, eating on board, asking for options of a different food we have, and saying how can we do that, easily and in a manner that's more safe. So we came up with pre-ordering. So I hope when you fly, and we've just turned it off here for the month of January for Omicron, but when you fly, if you love that cheese plate and you want to make sure that we run out, just pre-order before your flight. 24 hours before, as you check in, order the cheese plate. And what that does is just streamlines everything on board. It's not something we talked about it, but the pandemic just accelerated something like that to say we have to do this quicker. We have to have the ability for our customers to order food quickly and for our flight attendants to deliver it quickly, so that we're not creating risk of people taking off masks, ordering stuff back and forth. So that's an example. But you make that shift and you're saying, wow, people love this. Our waste had gone totally down, because sometimes on flights you were not, other flights, nobody wanted it. So our waste has gone considerably down. So it's kind of like a win-win overall. So those are some of the things that the pandemic forced some new thinking that's really helped us.
All right, Ken.
I have two quick questions. One quick question, which is a yes or no. When are you going to resume your flights to Mazatlan? I guess that's not yes or no, that's a when. Can you commit to that, sir?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm sure we're going to get back there. Mazatlan is a great spot. So, but we'll get back to you. We'll get back to you. Maybe Cole, send a text to Brett, and we're such a small company. We can do this pretty quick. We'll get the answer back for you in a second.
Wow. That is right on the money. All right, last question. How will your relationship with Boeing evolve given the loss of their engineering quality culture? What lessons can Alaska take away from their struggle? Will you consider products from other vendors?
So that's a great question. And I'm going to start by saying, the losses of the two MAXs were tragic. And it's something that no airline, nobody ever wants to see ever happen. What I can say is the work Boeing has put into improving the safety features on the airplane have been extraordinary. There is no airplane that's been more scrutinized than the 737 MAX. We have 13 airplanes in our fleet. I will tell you, our pilots love the airplane. And if there's one or two, there's two in the front. If two people that you say, how's the airplane? They say, it's fantastic. This airplane flies solid in turbulence. It handles amazing. I ask our flight attendants, how do you love the airplane? Love it. The airplane is 40% more quiet on the inside. You ask about the environmental impact. The airplane consumes 25% less fuel than the Airbus 320s they're replacing. So the airplane is fantastic, and Boeing is a fantastic partner. They've gone through a rough time, but we believe in Boeing, And we believe that they're on the right path. In terms of considering other products, we did consider Airbus. We had 72 of them. We're going back down to a single fleet of Boeings, but they were all part of the process we did in terms of looking at fleet renewal. And it's not something we ever take off the table, but we like single fleet. We like efficiency in terms of operation and crews and so forth. So I'm excited to get back to a single fleet of Boeing 737s.
We're out of time. This has been super fun,
that's
but I
quick.
feel like we are, I have to ask this question because we have you here. I've never flown first class, Ben. What's an insider's tip? How do we get upgraded to first class when we're flying?
So, Mark, I'll do this for you. Next time you fly, you let me know. We're going to put you in the front.
Give us, give us
That's a
the
deal.
insider's tip. Like, do you slip them a 20 at the desk? Or? Okay, you don't have to answer that.
You can email me and I'll see what I can do.
All right.
All right.
Ben
thanks, Mark.
Minicucci, everybody. Thank you so much.
Ever believe that Rotarians are not opportunists, eh? That is probably a stretch on service above self, but that's okay. Ben, we're pleased that you could join us and for your update on our hometown Alaska Airlines. In recognition of your generosity of time and a pair of tickets, with our club, we've contributed to Harvest Against Hunger. It's a Rotary district, which is the next level above us, 5030 project, as well as a nonprofit which provides healthy meal components to regional food banks. So 600 servings of fresh produce have been given in your name. Our club maintains a video library on our YouTube channel for programs that date back more than 10 years. Our generous gold level sponsors are members Liz Powell with Classification Real Estate and Bob Alexander with Classification Insurance. Our audiovisual provider today has been Live Oak AV. They assist with the capture of our program details here in the Cascade Ballroom.